It was approaching dusk when Jesse spoke. He sat up fast, surprised that he'd slept so long, so soundly. He found Isabel and Lacey sitting at a makeshift table with a bag of oranges, a lump of cheese, and a jug of milk, and a few king-sized biscuits before them. Lacey peeped out from beneath the panda cap, wearing a milk mustache and munching away on a biscuit. Jesse guessed Krampus must have snatched the food from someone's kitchen using the sack, probably someone they'd visited. He wondered if by chance that someone had been lucky enough to witness Krampus's disembodied arm plucking food off of their counter. Jesse looked for Krampus, but saw only Chet and Vernon curled up on the pews, and the lame wolf over by the pot-bellied stove. They went to bury him, Isabel said. Jesse nodded and hoped that getting your chest blown wide open wasn't the only way out of this madness. He tugged his boots back on, feeling the deep ache in his hands. He wiggled his fingers. They were almost back to normal. He sucked in a deep breath. Felt a twinge in his chest and back from the knife wound, but was breathing fine now. He'd noticed that his skin had grown darker. That was the healing effects of Krampus's blood. He noticed his skin had grown darker, that as the healing effects of Krampus's blood took hold, so too did the outward changes. He crawled to his feet and strolled over, noticing a pie pan full of bloody lead pellets sitting next to the stove. They get 'em all out? What? The buckshot from Krampus's shoulder. Isabel followed his eyes to the pan. Think so. A bright red bow sat atop Isabel's head. Jesse noticed 2 more stuck on the back of her jacket, 1 on the milk jug, and at least half a dozen all over Lacey. He spied a couple of bags of peel and stick bows, along with several rolls of old wrapping paper spilling out of one of the cardboard boxes. Jesse smirked. The little girl regarded him timidly. She looked better, her eyes alert, some color to her face, but Jesse knew that such emotional scars ran deep. Wondered if this girl would carry them the rest of her life. Hoped she'd be lucky, and her mind would suppress the worst of it. He sighed, knowing that was rarely the case. More often than not, the cycle of abuse and dependency just kept going round. Jesse slid the box over and took a seat next to her. Hey, kiddo, how you doing? The girl shrugged and scooted closer to Isabel. Isabel put an arm around her, gave her a squeeze. Jesse noted the way Isabel looked at the girl, wondered how well she could take it when time came to give her up. Jesse tugged one of the furry panda ears, pulling the cap down over Lacey's eyes. Like that cap, don't you? The girl pushed the cap up and nodded shyly. Jesse plucked the red bow off the milk jug and stuck it to the tip of his nose. You got any kin around? He asked. You know, someone who might take you in? The girl glanced up at Isabel, her face troubled. Isabel gave Jesse a warning look and rubbed the girl's back. Don't you worry, doll. No one's going to be taking you any place you don't want to go. Jesse shrugged. All right, then. That settles that. He plucked the bow from his nose, sat at the top of his head. Lacey, any chance you'd be willing to share one of them ginormous biscuits with me? Lacey nodded and handed him one. Hey, Lacey, watch what I can do. Jesse opened up his mouth as wide as he could and crammed the biscuit in. He stared at her with his cheeks puffed and his lips taut about the girth of the biscuit. She gave Isabel a quick, unsure glance, then Jesse began chewing, snorting, grunting, and making piggy noises. What the hell is wrong with you? Isabel asked, her nose wrinkled in disgust, to which Jesse burst out laughing, blowing biscuit crumbs across the table into Isabel's lap. Oh, yuck, Isabel cried, but Lacey's entire face lit up and she laughed and giggled, the way a little girl was supposed to. A good laugh, Jesse thought, and felt there just might be hope for her after all. Isabel's scowl began to softened into a grin. He's real funny, huh? A real bozo the clown. Lacey grinned back, nodding her head back and forth and side to side, and the silly way she did it so reminded Jesse of his Abigail, and he felt someone had socked him in the chest. He felt the sting of tears, suddenly missing his own little girl so badly it physically hurt. Jesse pulled the biscuit from his mouth, stood up, and walked over to the window, not wanting anyone to see him blinking away his tears. Where was Abby now? Was she safe? He propped his elbows atop the old piano and stared out across the winter landscape at the approaching dusk. Had Dillard found out about the massacre at the General's? If so, what would he do about it? What lengths would he go to cover his own involvement? Were Linda and Abigail in danger? He won't kill them, won't go that far. Jesse pushed his hand through his hair. You're fooling yourself. You know exactly what that man's capable of. He's going to want them out of the picture, and sooner than later. Fuck, Jesse whispered. He felt a hand on his shoulder and turned. You're worrying on your little girl, Isabel said, aren't you? Oh, you're worrying on your little girl, Isabel said, aren't you? He nodded. Yeah, do anything just to give her a hug right now. It's hard, I know. That feeling of someone needing you and you can't believe you can't be there for them. Can't do nothing about it. Tears you up inside. Jesse looked at her, could see she needed to say something. He waited, giving her space. The other day, when I told you about trying to kill myself, there was more to it. Thought there might be. My boy, his name is Daniel. Jesse couldn't hide his surprise. Tried to understand how Isabel could possibly have a child. I miss him, every day. She waited for him to say something, but Jesse had no idea what. Not to something like that. It wasn't some cheap fling, she continued. I ain't like that. I loved him very much. Named his boy after him. Jesse nodded. She studied him a minute. It can be hard sometimes for folks to understand. They tend to think the worst of you. I ain't no position to be judging anyone. Wouldn't think no worse of you if I were. I know you wouldn't. Don't care much for what folks might think about me. Not anymore. Not about that anyhow. But I do want you to know why things went the way they did. Why I would leave my own baby. They watched Lucy take one of the biscuits over to Frecky. She wasn't much bigger than the wolf's head. Frecky sniffed the biscuit, then licked it right out of the little girl's hand. Lacey giggled. I didn't have a lot of friends, Isabel said. Seeing how I was Mullins and all, folks tended to steer clear of us Mullinses on account that mental issues ran in the family. I know it's why my daddy ran off, because of Mama's fits. I'd known Daniel since I was 6, and he was the only real friend I ever had. But that made no matter to Mama. She wouldn't let us date. Said I was too young, and maybe I was, but that didn't stop us. We took to sneaking around, dated in secret for near on a year, and during that whole time, we didn't much more than kiss and hold hands. I mean, Daniel made a few half-hearted advances, but he was just so shy about such things. He'd always been rather awkward. The other kids liked to tease him about it, you know? And that's what I liked about him. He was such a goof. There was such a sweetness about his way. Then he got drafted. Vietnam. Those bastards sent him his notice just 1 week after his 18th birthday. 1 goddamn week. Off he goes to Fort Bragg. In that 2 months he's gone to basic, that was the longest 2 months of my life. The Army gave him just 4 days leave before he was shipped out to Vietnam, and he spent most days of it on the bus coming home to see me. You want to know what he'd done while he was at Bragg? Isabel looked at Jesse. Sure. He saved up all his pay and bought me something special. She tugged a cord out from her jacket. A gold ring hung from the end of it. Had to hang it around my neck on account it won't fit my finger no more. He couldn't afford a diamond, but it's solid gold. And it was then, that night, after he gave me this ring, after he promised to marry me, that's when we laid down together. We planned on getting hitched just as soon as he got back. It was our secret, a thing only between us, and that made it all the more special. But things don't always go the way folks want. Or hope. Life isn't like that. He didn't make it back, did he? He stepped on a mine. The first month he was over there, one step took him away from me forever. Isabel, I'm sorry. Me too, she said, dabbing her eyes. She sat down on the piano bench. So there I was, knocked up and without a man. Not the first girl to ever find herself in that predicament. But you couldn't have told me that, not then. About the time they shipped his body back, I was starting to show. I was so small and the baby rode high, so Mama found out soon enough. And when she did, she locked me in the closet, read me scripture through the door for 2 days. That's when she let me out and told me I was going to have to get rid of it. I told her that was against the Bible, but Mama tended to only hear what she wanted to hear from the good book. Told me she was taking me to see a woman she knew over in Madison, a fixing woman. That baby was all I had left, Daniel. Oh, that baby was all I had left of Daniel. There weren't no way I was gonna let him kill his flesh and blood. Oh my gosh. That baby was all I had left of Daniel. There weren't no way I was gonna let him kill his flesh and blood. And I told her so. Made it clear she'd have to kill me first. And, well, Isabel cleared her throat. She tried. That woman starved me, even tried to feed me poison once. She wouldn't let me leave the house, kept the shades down. Such was her fear someone might find out. But somehow I had that baby, had him on the bathroom floor, and when I saw that baby boy, then I knew that Daniel's spirit was watching over us, because our baby was alive and healthy. Had a strong set of lungs, and let the world know he was here. Let the world know he was here. I could see his daddy in his face, even that small. I swear I could. Gave him his daddy's name. I made it to my bedroom and passed out with him suckling at my breast. When I came to, he was gone. Found them in the living room, Mama leaning over him, whispering, talking her God talk. At first I thought she was dressing him. Thought maybe seeing his face had softened her heart. Then I saw, and what I saw turned my blood cold. She had a pillow over his face, over my baby's face. I could see his little hands clutching at that pillow. I snatched the crucifix up off the TV and smashed it against the side of her head, not once, but several times, until she lay still on the floor. I think I killed her, but I don't know, not even now, because after I'd done that, I picked up my baby, wrapped him in a towel, and run off. And even though my insides felt like they'd been torn open, I walked the 2 miles over to Daniel's parents' house. Daniel's parents didn't know about the baby, not even about mine and Daniel's engagement. I showed them the ring and told them our story. I had no idea how they'd take it, but I didn't have no other place to go. Well, I'd never seen folks so happy to see a baby. It was all over their faces. It was as though I'd brought them their son back. I knew then that little Daniel would be safe with them. I told them I had to go and get something from my car. Of course, I didn't have no car. I just walked down the driveway and kept going. Didn't really know where I was headed. Not then. Just kept walking and walking. All that day and into the night until I found myself up in them hills. Well, you know what happened after that? She shook her head. Jesse, not a day goes by that I don't regret leaving my child. Not a day. Jesse let out a long, heartfelt sigh. So he wasn't the only one hurting. No big surprise there. He wished that he had something profound and uplifting to say, something to make her feel better, to make himself feel better. But sometimes there seemed to be so much bad in the world, it was hard to see much of anything else. He set his hand on her shoulder, squeezed, and that was about the best he could do. Lacey was now sticking bows all over Frecky's fur. The giant wolf just lay there, looking at them as though pleading for help. Maybe Krampus will let us go soon? Jesse said with little conviction. Maybe. Isabel walked over to Lacey, picked her up, spun her around, and hugged her. Lacey giggled and hugged her back. Isabel beamed. Jesse thought Isabel would make a wonderful mother, started to say so when he caught movement outside. 3 figures trudged through the light snow, followed by a lumbering wolf. Krampus and the 2 remaining Shawnee walked with their heads down as though from the weather. But Jesse knew better.